Hollywood has always been a place where creativity meets controversy. This means it was inevitable that some films would push the limits so far that they were outright banned.
Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
These movies weren't just bold. They were seen as dangerous, shocking, or too ahead of their time.
Let's get things nice and sparkling clear.
Some of these stories challenged societal norms or had scenes that defied censorship rules. These films shook up the industry and almost brought Hollywood to its knees. In this video, we're diving into 25 banned films that caused major scandals. We'll explore how these movies sparked outrage, why they were forbidden, and the impact they had on the movie business. The Outlaw, 1943. In 1943, the infamous entrepreneur Howard Hughes knew exactly how to stir up buzz for his controversial Western, The Outlaw. The film starred Jane Russell in her breakout role. Hughes made her curvy figure the centerpiece of the film promotion. This bold marketing choice sparked immediate outrage. Censors claimed the movie violated moral standards of the time. Instead of backing down, Hughes cleverly leaned into the scandal. He hyped up The Outlaw as a direct challenge to American values. The controversy delayed the movie's general release for 3 years, but the publicity only fueled public curiosity. By the time it hit theaters, audiences were lining up to see what all the fuss was about. The movie itself received mixed reviews, but it became a massive success, largely thanks to Hughes's knack for turning outrage into ticket sales. Jane Russell became a Hollywood icon, and The Outlaw went down in history as one of the most infamous films of its era. Scarface, 1932. In the early 1930s, Hollywood was rampant when it came to graphic content, and Scarface pushed the limits. This groundbreaking gangster film was packed with violence, crime, and edgy themes that shocked audiences. It was so controversial that it helped birth the very strict production code in 1934. Italian Americans protested the movie for its portrayal of Italian immigrants. Several states refused to allow it to be shown. To calm the backlash, censors forced changes to the movie. This included a new title, Scarface: The Shame of the Nation, and a less violent ending. But producer Howard Hughes wasn't pleased with the watered-down version and decided to yank it from theaters. He also halted its distribution. It wasn't until after Hughes died in 1976 that the original version became widely available again. For fans of the 1983 remake, this original Scarface is a must-watch. It offers a glimpse into Hollywood's no-holds-barred early days and the censorship battles that changed the industry forever. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. In the late 1970s, Italian exploitation films were all about pushing boundaries, but Cannibal Holocaust took things to an extreme that shocked even seasoned horror fans. Directed by Ruggero Deodato, the film claimed to be recovered footage of a missing documentary crew in the Amazon, but its graphic violence and real animal cruelty sparked outrage worldwide. One of the most infamous scenes involved the killing and dismemberment of a live turtle, leaving audiences horrified. The film's violence was so realistic that Deodato was arrested in Italy. He was accused of creating a snuff film. Eventually, he was cleared of homicide charges after proving the deaths were staged. But the controversy didn't end there. Censors and animal rights groups condemned the movie. This led to bans in countries like New Zealand and beyond. The Exorcist, 1973. The Exorcist didn't just court controversy, it welcomed it with open arms. This 1973 horror classic shocked audiences with its graphic scenes. These scenes included one where a possessed young girl stabs herself with a crucifix. The backlash was so intense that director William Friedkin had a priest bless the set after fires and injuries sparked rumors of a curse. Critics accused the film of sneaking subliminal messages into its frames. The film's young star, Linda Blair, even required a bodyguard after receiving threats. The Catholic Church also weighed in. Some leaders called the film unsuitable for a wide audience due to its unsettling religious themes. There were even calls to ban it outright. But Friedkin defended the movie. He said that many high-ranking church officials accepted it because it aligned with the Roman ritual of exorcism. Citizen Kane, 1941. To a modern audience, Citizen Kane might not seem controversial. But when it premiered in 1941, it sparked a feud that nearly buried Orson Welles' masterpiece. The story of a powerful newspaper tycoon whose rise to fame ends in emptiness was seen as a thinly veiled critique of real-life media mogul William Randolph Hearst. Hearst, enraged by the parallels to his own life, especially Kane's relationship with a talentless opera singer, reminiscent of Hearst's affair with actress Marion Davies. He used his influence to attack the film. He banned advertisements and reviews of Citizen Kane in his newspapers. Hearst even pressured theaters to avoid screening it. He even threatened to expose Hollywood's German refugees and Jewish executives during a time of pre-war xenophobia. Triumph of the Will, 1934. Director Leni Riefenstahl's film Triumph of the Will remains one of the most infamous pieces of propaganda ever made. Released in 1935, the documentary glorifies Adolf Hitler and the 1934 Nuremberg Rally. It showcases the dictator's rise and the chilling power of fascist spectacle. To this day, the film is banned in Germany due to its association with Nazi ideology. Riefenstahl's remarkable talent is undeniable. She used innovative camera techniques, dramatic compositions, and precise editing to create a visually stunning portrayal of marching troops and Hitler's fiery speeches. Critics like Roger Ebert have noted that while other films documented Nazi rallies, none achieved the same artistic impact. However, the beauty of Riefenstahl's filmmaking serves as a stark example of how art can be used to further harmful ideologies. While Triumph of the Will is often studied for its technical achievements, it also remains a sobering reminder of the dangerous power of propaganda. Dirty Harry, 1971. Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry is a legendary action film, famous for the iconic line, "Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?" But when it was first released, the movie sparked a lot of controversy. Critics called it violent, bigoted, and even fascist. In Finland, the movie was banned in 1972 due to concerns about its graphic content and mental health impact. After some edits and legal battles, the ban was eventually lifted in 1973, though a few minutes of footage remained cut. The film follows Harry Callahan, a San Francisco cop who bends the rules to track down the Scorpio killer. This character is loosely inspired by the real-life Zodiac killer. Directed by Don Siegel, with Eastwood even stepping in to direct a few scenes, Dirty Harry became a massive success. It earned $35.9 million at the box office on a $4 million budget. Despite its controversies, the movie's reputation has only grown. In 2012, it was added to the National Film Registry, cementing its place in cinematic history. Song of the South, 1946. Disney's Song of the South remains one of the studio's most controversial films. This is due to its offensive portrayal of plantation life and black characters. The film was set during the Reconstruction era. It centers on Uncle Remus, a cheerful black storyteller who entertains white children with folk tales about Brer Rabbit. But its romanticized depiction of the antebellum South as a harmonious, happy slave environment drew criticism. The National Negro Congress protested the film. Critics noted its troubling racial stereotypes. This included the patronizing portrayal of Uncle Remus and dehumanizing depictions of black sharecropper children. James Baskett, who played Uncle Remus, wasn't even allowed to attend the film's premiere in segregated Atlanta. This highlighted the racial inequality of the era. Song of the South featured the beloved Oscar-winning song Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah. However, its problematic themes led Disney to avoid releasing the movie on home video. Despite its technical achievements, the film remains a stain on Disney's history. It often sparks debates about racism in entertainment. The Last House on the Left, 1972. Wes Craven is known for iconic films like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, but his career almost didn't happen because of his first controversial movie, The Last House on the Left, 1972. The film, which was inspired by the violent media coverage of the Vietnam War, was meant to criticize the way violence was shown in the news. It tells the story of two young women who are kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered, followed by brutal revenge by the parents of one victim. The graphic violence shocked audiences, with many walking out, vomiting, or demanding that theaters destroy their copies. The film was banned in some countries and heavily censored in others. Craven was criticized for making a movie that some viewers mistook as endorsing sexual assault and murder rather than condemning it. Despite this, The Last House on the Left became a success, but the controversy kept Craven stuck making horror films. It remains one of his most misunderstood works. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. Midnight Cowboy is a film that made waves in Hollywood, breaking boundaries with its raw portrayal of life in New York City. It followed Joe Buck, a young Texan hustler, and his unlikely friendship with Ratso Rizzo, a sickly con man. The film pushed the limits of what was acceptable on screen, especially with its portrayal of homosexuality, which led to an X rating. But despite this, it became the first X-rated film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. The movie reflected the turbulent social climate of the time, dealing with issues like sex work, poverty, and gay life. It was different from other films of the era like Hello, Dolly or Paint Your Wagon. The film's gritty realism and complex characters left a lasting impact on both audiences and critics. Over the years, Midnight Cowboy gained a dedicated following. It continues to be seen as a groundbreaking piece of cinema that captured the essence of its time. The Devils, 1971. The Devils is a highly controversial film directed by Ken Russell that was released in 1971. The movie is a fictionalized account of the life of Urbain Grandier. He was a French priest who was executed in the 17th century on accusations of witchcraft. The film is known for its shocking and graphic scenes. This includes violence, self-harm, and disturbing religious imagery. The combination of extreme violence and sexual content caused a stir among film censors around the world. The movie was heavily edited in many countries, and it received an X rating in the US and the UK. In Finland, it was banned entirely and couldn't be viewed until 2001, nearly 30 years after its release. Despite the uproar, The Devils won Ken Russell a Best Director award at the Venice Film Festival. This showed that its boldness had a lasting impact on the world of cinema. Life of Brian, 1979. Monty Python's Life of Brian is a comedy that sparked controversy when it was released 45 years ago. The film, which tells the story of Brian. He was a man born on the same day as Jesus and mistaken for the Messiah. The film didn't mock Jesus directly, but made fun of the religious zealots and political groups of the time. This satire angered many religious organizations who felt it was blasphemous. Protests erupted, and some countries even banned the movie. Ironically, the protests helped the film gain more attention. In the US, for example, the number of theaters showing the movie tripled. John Cleese, one of the Python members, joked that the protesters made him rich. The film's success showed that while some people were offended, it also attracted a lot of fans. Monty Python's humor, which poked fun at people misunderstanding teachings, was controversial, but eventually won over audiences worldwide, proving that sometimes bad publicity can work in a film's favor. Maniac, 1980. One of the most controversial banned movies is Maniac. It was a 1980 slasher film about a psychopathic man who goes on a killing spree in New York. The movie features intense scenes of murder, including graphic scalping, which led to its ban in several countries. In the UK, the British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, refused to classify the film for over 20 years. It only allowed it to be released in 2002 after cutting 58 seconds of footage. Maniac was also banned in Australia for a few months and had to be edited before being released in the US. Even a 2012 remake faced a ban in New Zealand due to its extreme violence. The film was a product of its time, reflecting the rise of slasher films and pushing the limits of on-screen violence. Despite poor reviews and heavy criticism for its graphic content, Maniac has since become a cult classic in the slasher genre. Freaks, 1932. Todd Browning's 1932 horror film Freaks shocked audiences and caused a stir when it was released. The movie, set in a carnival freak show, starred real circus performers with physical disabilities. Some viewers found it exploitative. The disturbing scenes of revenge and the horror faced by the characters led to a negative reaction from audiences. One woman at a test screening reportedly sued MGM, claiming the movie caused her miscarriage. After editing the film down to just over an hour, MGM still suffered a major loss, and the film was pulled from theaters. It wasn't until the 1960s, when the counterculture movement embraced it, that freaks gained a following. The film features a deceitful trapeze artist who plots against the carnival performers. Its portrayal of people with disabilities stirred controversy. Many saw it as offensive, while others considered it a misunderstood classic. Today, Freaks remains a film that sparks debates about exploitation, representation, and its place in film history. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. Bonnie and Clyde was a groundbreaking film that shocked audiences and changed Hollywood forever. The movie tells the story of the infamous bank robbers, focusing on their violent crime spree during the Great Depression. What made it controversial was its graphic depiction of violence, which had never been shown so realistically before. Critics were divided. Some thought the violence was too extreme, while others praised it for its boldness. The film also had strong sexual undertones, adding to its shock value. Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway's characters were shown as sexually charged and dangerously in love. The movie's ending, where Bonnie and Clyde are killed in a brutal shootout, left viewers stunned by its realism and violence. Despite initial backlash, Bonnie and Clyde became a huge hit and is now seen as a classic. It pushed boundaries in film, combining violence, sex, and dark humor in a way that had never been done before. This film marked the start of the new Hollywood era. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange shocked audiences with its graphic violence and disturbing themes. The film is based on Anthony Burgess's novel. It follows Alex DeLarge, a teenage delinquent who delights in violence, crime, and sexual assault. After Alex is caught, he undergoes experimental therapy to cure his violent urges. The film's portrayal of Alex's crimes, including sexual assault and murder, led to a massive controversy. Many critics and politicians condemned it as amoral and dangerous, while others praised it as a bold social commentary. The film was banned in several countries, including the UK. Kubrick himself requested it be removed from theaters due to its intense backlash. It was also banned in countries like Ireland, Singapore, Spain, and South Africa. Despite its initial controversy, A Clockwork Orange has become a cult classic. It is praised for its thought-provoking exploration of free will and violence, but it remains a frequently challenged and censored film to this day. The Moon is Blue, 1953. The Moon is Blue, 1953, is a light-hearted comedy directed by Otto Preminger, known for his gritty noirs like Laura. The film caused a major stir because it was one of the first to openly discuss sexual themes, featuring words like virgin, seduce, and mistress. At the time, such words were shocking, as Hollywood's motion picture production code censored any suggestive content. The film tells the story of a bachelor, Don, William Holden, who tries to seduce a young woman, Patty, Maggie McNamara. But she has her own plans, keeping her virginity for a rich, older man. The film explores morality and sexuality with a light tone, though it was too daring for its time. Despite strong protests from religious groups and the Hays Code, The Moon is Blue was released and became a success. It opened the door for films to tackle more mature subjects. Today, it's a quaint reminder of how censorship once shaped Hollywood, and its influence can still be seen in later films tackling similar themes. The Birth of a Nation, 1915. D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation is often seen as both a groundbreaking film and a deeply controversial one. On one hand, it introduced innovative techniques like dramatic close-ups and cross-cutting. These two techniques would influence countless future films. On the other hand, it is infamous for its racist portrayal of African Americans, which led to protests and sparked the revival of the K-Klan. The film's story, based on the novel The Klansman, shows the Klan as heroes and depicts black characters in negative stereotypes. This racist messaging made the film a powerful tool for spreading hate. Despite its troubling content, The Birth of a Nation is often credited with shaping Hollywood filmmaking, especially when it comes to battle scenes and sweeping epics. Its technical brilliance was unmatched for its time, but its legacy is forever tainted by its racist views. Today, many scholars argue the film should be studied as a historical artifact. But it's important to remember the harmful impact it had on racial attitudes in America. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974, Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre elicits images of bodies and blood being everywhere. But that just isn't the case. However, its chilling atmosphere and disturbing content shook audiences and censors worldwide. This terrifying tale follows a group of friends who fall victim to a chainsaw-wielding killer who wears masks made of human skin. Set on a creepy abandoned farm, the movie spares no one, even showcasing a shocking scene where a man in a wheelchair is brutally killed. Hooper originally thought the film might receive a PG rating due to its limited blood and gore, but instead it got an R rating for its intense and frightening violence. Its unsettling nature led to bans in countries like the UK, Sweden, Brazil, and Australia. Despite the controversy, the movie became a groundbreaking horror classic. Its influence on the slasher genre is undeniable. It inspired countless remakes and young directors. The Great Dictator, 1940. In 1940, Charlie Chaplin released The Great Dictator, a bold satire of Adolf Hitler and fascism at a time when the world was on edge. America had not yet entered World War II, and the idea of mocking Hitler was controversial. Some even warned Chaplin that his movie might not be shown in the US or Britain, both hesitant to confront Nazi Germany. Despite these warnings, Chaplin pushed forward, knowing the story had to be told. The film, his first talkie, featured Chaplin in two roles: Adenoid Hinkle, a parody of Hitler, and a humble Jewish barber. The story balanced slapstick humor and chilling scenes of persecution. This drew attention to the cruelty of dictators. One of its most memorable moments is Chaplin's heartfelt final speech, calling for kindness and humanity. Though criticized by some for trivializing Nazi atrocities, the movie was a massive success. Chaplin's courage and keen insight made The Great Dictator a timeless masterpiece that still resonates as a warning against tyranny. The Wild Bunch, 1969. When The Wild Bunch hit theaters in 1969, it shocked audiences with its unflinching violence. Directed by Sam Peckinpah, the film was unlike anything seen before. It blended intense shootouts with a storyline that challenged traditional Western heroes. The story follows a group of aging outlaws planning one last heist to secure their futures. They're far from clean-cut heroes. Their journey leaves a trail of destruction, reflecting their struggle to survive in a changing world. Peckinpah's use of slow-motion shots, rapid editing, and multiple cameras revolutionized action filmmaking. His aim wasn't just to showcase violence, but to make audiences feel its raw impact. Dying is not fun and games, he explained, emphasizing the reality of violence. The controversial scenes initially earned the film an NC-17 rating, later revised to a hard R, sparking debates about its purpose. Though divisive at first, The Wild Bunch has become a cinematic masterpiece, influencing directors like John Woo. It stands as a bold commentary on violence, storytelling, and the cost of survival. Straw Dogs, 1971. Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs shocked audiences upon its release in 1971 and remains one of his most controversial films. The story follows David, a quiet mathematician, who moves to a peaceful English village with his wife. The couple hopes to escape the chaos of city life. However, the couple soon faces hostility and violence from locals, leading to a chilling showdown. The film's most infamous scene, a prolonged sexual assault, stirred outrage for its ambiguous portrayal of the victim's emotions. Critics accused Peckinpah of glamorizing violence and reinforcing harmful myths about sexual assault. The controversy overshadowed the film's other themes. These themes include the dangers of suppressed aggression and societal brutality. Peckinpah defended the film as a commentary on human nature, but its intense violence and unsettling subject matter led to censorship battles worldwide. Despite its polarizing reception, Straw Dogs is often studied for its bold storytelling and exploration of moral ambiguity. This has cemented its place as a polarizing yet influential piece of cinema history. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. I Spit on Your Grave, also known as Day of the Woman, is one of the most infamous films in the horror genre. It has sparked outrage and controversy since its release in 1978. Directed by Meyer Zarchi, the movie tells the harrowing story of Jennifer Hills. The woman is a young writer who is brutally assaulted by a group of men and left for dead. Refusing to be a victim, Jennifer takes matters into her own hands, seeking revenge in a series of chilling and violent confrontations. The film's graphic content, especially its depiction of sexual violence, led to widespread bans in countries like Ireland, Norway, Australia, and West Germany. Critics like Roger Ebert called it a vile bag of garbage. Others debated whether it glorified violence or empowered its protagonist. Despite its low budget and exploitation style, I Spit on Your Grave inspired a 2010 remake and a franchise. However, its extreme violence makes it a tough watch, unsuitable for most audiences. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. The Last Temptation of Christ, directed by Martin Scorsese in 1988, is one of the most controversial films ever made. Based on Nikos Kazantzakis' 1955 novel, it explores the life of Jesus Christ. It portrays him as a man who struggles with doubts, fears, and temptations while fulfilling his divine mission. Starring Willem Dafoe as Jesus, the movie portrays a deeply human side of Christ. This even includes a moment where he imagines an ordinary life with Mary Magdalene. The film sparked outrage worldwide. Conservative Christian groups condemned its depiction of Jesus as flawed and tempted by sin. Some called it blasphemous, and it was banned in several countries, including Singapore and the Philippines. Protests escalated to violence, with a Paris theater firebombed during a screening. Despite the uproar, The Last Temptation of Christ received praise for its powerful performances, stunning cinematography, and Peter Gabriel's moving soundtrack. Scorsese's vision invites viewers to reflect on faith and humanity, making it a bold and thought-provoking piece of cinema. The Man with the Golden Arm, 1955. In 1955, The Man with the Golden Arm made waves as the first Hollywood film to openly depict heroin addiction. Directed by Otto Preminger and starring Frank Sinatra, the film told the story of a man struggling to overcome his addiction. Before filming even began, censors removed direct mentions of drugs, but Preminger refused to back down. He released the movie without approval from the Production Code Authority, PCA. This challenged the strict rules of Hollywood's moral watchdogs. This bold move sparked controversy. Major theater chains and distributors supported the film, recognizing its importance despite pushback. The PCA ultimately denied the movie its seal, but it still earned critical acclaim and box office success. Sinatra's gripping performance, Saul Bass's iconic opening titles, and Elmer Bernstein's compelling score became unforgettable highlights. The Man with the Golden Arm not only broke boundaries in storytelling, but also forced Hollywood to rethink its strict code. This paved the way for future films to tackle challenging topics like addiction with honesty and depth. Honorable mention: The Evil Dead, 1981. Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead shocked the world when it hit theaters in 1981. The film follows 5 college friends, Ash, Cheryl, Linda, Scott, and Shelley, who visit a secluded cabin in the woods. There, they discover the Necronomicon, or Book of the Dead, along with a tape recorder. Playing the tape accidentally releases a demonic force that possesses the group one by one, leaving Ash as the lone survivor. Known for its graphic violence and shocking imagery, The Evil Dead was banned in countries like Finland, Ukraine, and Singapore for its gory content. Raimi's close-up shots of blood and dismemberment were both groundbreaking and controversial. One scene Raimi regrets involves Cheryl being attacked by possessed trees, a moment many found deeply offensive. Despite this, the film remains a cult classic and a defining entry in the horror genre, paving the way for the beloved Evil Dead franchise. It's crazy to think that many of these films were considered too shocking or controversial at the time, but then later became important pieces of cinematic history. Despite the bans and censorship, these movies paved the way for more freedom in filmmaking and pushed boundaries in ways that still influence Hollywood today. From brutal violence and shocking content to taboo topics like addiction and sexuality, these films challenged what was acceptable in entertainment. But over time, some of these once banned films have been reevaluated and celebrated for their artistic value and boldness. Old Hollywood might have been stricter about what could be shown on screen, but these banned films proved that sometimes A little rebellion is what helps art grow. If you enjoyed this dive into the wild side of film history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more fascinating movie facts and behind-the-scenes stories. What do you think about these banned films? Did any of them surprise you? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.